We are back in the shop, y'all. So, I meant to start this on Tuesday, but it is now Friday, and I'm ready to get started on this thing. It's been a busy week. So, Ozzy, sorry about that, man, but we'll get this thing done right. This is an LT1 SS Camaro with an 8-speed automatic. We are going to do a cam swap, long tube headers, valve springs, and DOD delete. So I already got the file over to Phil over at PhD for the tune. He's gonna give me a startup, and then we'll do some driving around, get that dialed in. But for now, let's get this thing up on the lift and start tearing things apart. Do you guys ever start working on something and then absolutely hate it? This is one of them. This is where we're at. My thought was, yeah, let's pull a radiator, so we can have some room to pull the cam out, put the other one in, blah, blah, blah. No. This is probably worse than working on my Corvette. And it's a C7. Those things are tight. Anyway, this thing has 3 radiators. Now, my main goal was to get this one, the main radiator, out. But I have to take the whole front bumper off, every under tray. This thing has 30 cooling hoses because it has 2 auxiliary radiators, and then it's got the trans cooler under it. Man, the amount of frustration I felt with this thing. But you know what? We're getting it done. We're already here. We're halfway there, kinda. We're a quarter of the way there. Still got to pull the intake off. We're going to pull the heads off, put springs on it, DOD delete, new lifters, and the cam. Let's start tearing this thing apart. All right, you guys, we got the new BTR camshaft in. The old stock one is out. One thing I 100% recommend to replace is your cam retainer plate. They have a seal right here that, you got oil passing through both sides of the block right there. If you don't replace it, you end up reusing this, 8 times out of 10, you're gonna have a low oil pressure issue. Now, these are like 40 bucks. Just replace it. There's your part number, ES73115. Easy, cheap fix. And it comes with the bolts too, already pre-Loctited. So yeah, we'll slap this on. I'll throw the lifters in. It's getting kind of late and it's kind of cold out here in West Texas. It's like, I don't know, 56 degrees right now. And I'm still in summer mode. Tomorrow we'll clean up the block, clean up the heads, relap the valves, throw the new valve springs on there, and then start throwing everything back together. Got this thing buttoned up, got the heads all torqued on, valley covers on, DOD plugs are in, cam is in, cam phaser's on, timing cover is on. I think this is a good stopping point. It's time to clock out. We're making good progress on this thing. It's not going as fast as I like, but I got a full-time job. But hopefully tomorrow we'll get the rest of this buttoned up. We'll get the rockers, push rods on, get the intake on, get the water pump on, the rest of the accessory system back on. And then we can start dealing with this crap. That radiator is a real pain. Anyways, yeah, Ozzy, hopefully we'll get the majority of this knocked out tomorrow. And then I'm still waiting on an email back from PhD for the tune. And once we get that back, flash it in. And, I still need to set up the headers. That's gonna take a little bit because I have to reuse the stock X pipe and butt it up to the new headers. So we'll see how that works. We still got some work to do, but we're getting there. I was gonna start rebuilding the heads, but they're nasty. So I'm soaking them in degreaser and I'm gonna wash them off. And then once that's done, I'm gonna reassemble them. So for that to get me soaked, let's throw these DOD plugs in. I already got 3 of them in there. Basically, they look like this. And these are the Michigan Motorsport ones. They have those threads on top. You can see everyone cool now. But they're going in soak. Get it in there. Do a little tap. And they have a little edge on them that'll kind of stop them. Let me see if we can see it. Yeah, right there. And you can hear it when it gets there, so yeah. Just pop those suckers in there and your DOD solenoids are plugged. All right, we're back in the shop, y'all. We got the block cleaned up finally. Nice and pretty. Now, this cam requires a 4-degree lockout on the cam phaser. Now, I already installed it, but if you look here, when you take these apart, you got one long bolt, which is like, it has a pin. That's that pin right there. That's where your spring stops. Make sure that one goes back where you took it out of. But yeah, you'll just loosen this one, take these all the way out after you put your tool on, right? So these two goes like right here. Hold on. Something like that. You crank on it and then you lock it so it stays open. You pop this out, there's little voids in here. You pop that limiter in there and then close it back up. Easy. The only thing is make sure that pin bolt goes back where you took it out of, because if you don't, this whole thing is going to unwind and you're never gonna get it back. You're gonna have to get a new phaser. But yeah, let's clean up these heads. This is done. I'll get it out of the way, put it back on the car, and we'll clean up these heads, pull the springs and the valve seals, lap the valves, then put the new springs on. All right, y'all. Sorry for the delay. We're back in the shop. I had a bunch of this stuff put together and found these. Guess what these are for? The oil pump. So I got to take the front cover back off because that would have been catastrophic. So, yeah. Let's finish taking this apart and then put it back together. All right, you guys, we got the headers installed. I ended up having to pull the K-member to get those in. But I want to go ahead and put them on, bolt them up to the head before we put the valve covers on, because then it just gets more bulky in there and we can't reach them, get the bolts in, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, we have to install both of them from the bottom. Just take the K-member out, shove them in there. This one, you got to kind of wiggle it and kind of force it a little bit. No, sorry, this one you gotta wiggle and force it in a little bit. This one goes in there pretty easy. We have to take out the steering shaft that goes from here to there, from the column to the rack. But I just put a bolt in there to hold it while I brought the lift down. And then this side's just hanging on from where it's wedged back there. But yeah, let's bolt those up and then we can finish putting everything else back together up here. All right, so to get in there, got the headers completely bolted in. I still need to put the steering shaft back in, but it shouldn't be too bad. I got the intake bolted up, valve covers are all the way on. I have to wrestle with the dipstick too because I forgot to stick it in there when before I tightened up the headers. So that was kind of a pain. I had to drop the starter and then wiggle it in, but it's good, it's there. I got the AC line bolted back up to the AC compressor and the low pressure line. Once we get the radiator in here, we'll bolt everything else up for the AC. The 30 million radiator hoses that need to go back on, we'll knock that out tomorrow as well. And then the rest of the PCV system, heater hoses. Oh, before I do any of that, I want to get the spark plugs in and the spark plug cables, because once all this crap is in here and all the hoses are where they need to be, it's going to be a pain to get in there. As it is, I'm not sure how well these headers are going to allow for spark plug servicing. These are the Speed Engineering, so you know, it's hit or miss. They could be good, they could be junk. So yeah, this is a good stopping point. Sorry it's taking so long, Ozzy. Oh man, you know I don't do this full time, but we're chipping away at it, and you know it's gonna be done right. But yeah, peace. Short and sweet update. Everything is back on. We got the 63 million hoses back in. All the hose clamps are tight. Everything's good. Everything's tight. Fan is in, radiator's in, condenser's in. I got all the AC lines hooked back up. Transmission lines are back on the cooler. What else? Spark plugs and the cables are back on. It wasn't really that bad to put the spark plugs in. Driver's side number 5 is going to be a pain. Passenger side is going to be a pain just because of the radiator hoses, or the heater hoses. But you know what? We're good. I got the K-member cleaned up. We'll bolt it back on tomorrow and then start working on exhaust. And then once we get the tune back from PhD, we will start it up. Peace. Everything up there is done, at least engine-wise. I still need to put the bumper back on. Now, this is 3-inch. This is 2 3/4 inch. Now I need to cut this straighter, make it nice and pretty. The plan of attack is, since this is 3-inch, I think it's OD. I have a piece of 3-inch here, and this will slip on the header. And then I have a 2 3/4 inch slip on that'll fit in here, and it fits inside the 3-inch. So I'm gonna make a little joint and clamp these on. I don't want to weld them on because I'm sure eventually Ozzy's gonna want to go with the full 3-inch off-road X pipe and all that, maybe even an exhaust down the road. So for now, I'm just gonna make it to where it'll flow from here to here with clamps for now. And then you know, if he eventually does want to go with bigger full flow system, then we can weld some V-bands here and V-band everything from here back. Yeah, let's get it. This is what I had in mind. The 2 3/4 slip-on fits pretty perfect inside the 3-inch tube, and then this side goes over the 3-inch on the header. Now, to give myself enough space, this side only goes in 1.5 inches into the 2 3/4 tube. This one has 3 inches. So I measured from end to end and then added the 1.5 inches for the tube to slip on over here. And I added the 3-inch so I can have enough space to slip it on the header and then slide it back into the 2 3/4, and it'll be sealed. And then we just clamp it up and move on. I ended up having to chop about 1 inch off of this one, and that gave me enough room to slip it in here and then slide it back. And now we're grabbing both sides. We'll just clamp that and sand it. I'm gonna cut one more for that side and then clamp them both up. And here's what we got. This one lined up pretty straight, pretty good, not too bad. This one I had to cut a bend into the tube, but there it is. Is it pretty? Absolutely not. Will it work? Yes. Is it my preferred method? No. But for now, it'll work until Ozzy upgrades his exhaust. I know he wants to do a high ram. He wants to move a ton of air, make a ton of power, and the stock exhaust is not gonna work. So yeah, let's top off fluids. I just got the tune back from PhD, and we can flash it in and see if it'll start. Hopefully it doesn't blow up, because then I'm gonna have to take the engine out of my Corvette and put it in his Camaro. And we're back. Everything's back on. This thing is driving pretty good. I sent some logs over to Phil. He doesn't usually work Sundays or Mondays, but he said he'll try to get me back something this afternoon. But yeah, this thing actually fires up and sounds pretty good. If you haven't checked out my story, check it out. Today is Sunday. if you're not seeing this, Sunday, November 9th. This is an old video. Check that out. Don't mind my contraption for the wideband, but yeah, let's get this thing dialed in. And we're back. So we got the AC charged on this thing. Well, basically any car really. You hook up your low side, your high side, or sorry, high side and low side on this side. You hook it up to a little vacuum pump. You need your little gauges. Hook up your vacuum pump, put a vacuum on it for about 30 minutes, and then shut it down, leave it another 30 minutes, and make sure none of your gauges leak. Once you get that done and you're good, leave the pump on for, I don't know, I think I left it like 45 minutes. So I always do 30 minutes to an hour. Once that's good and you got a nice vacuum on it, then you hook up your refrigerant cans. Whoa, hey. Settle down. Get your refrigerant, and then disconnect your vacuum pump, hook it up to these, and this one punctures the refrigerant cans. Now, make sure when you load it that your car is running and the AC is on. Now, with these newer cars, what's nice, in HP tuners, you go to Special Functions, System, click on the AC clutch, and it'll kick the system on for you. Once you do that, then you start loading it and just watch your pressures. And make sure that you weigh them out. Those are like 12-ounce cans. This thing needed about 18 ounces, I think. It's like 0.550 kilograms. But yeah, it's loaded. It's blowing nice and cold. I sent another log to Phil once he does all his checks and stuff, and he says we're good. We're good. So, yeah, just waiting on Phil to see if the tune looks good. Once he's happy with it, I'm happy with it right now. This thing drives pretty freaking sick. But once Phil doesn't have any more revisions and he says we're good, Phil, or not Phil, Ozzy, you can come pick this thing up. Bunch of gangsters out here. This one's out. Who's next?